You think every time you wash your hair or use body wash, you're cleaning yourself. You're not. You're stripping away the oil your skin actually needs, and in the same motion, laying down a fresh layer of synthetic residue and chemicals that binds to your skin and doesn't fully rinse off. My name is Lin, and my grandmother ran a drugstore outside Osaka for 40 years, and she used to tell customers the same thing without ever needing a chemistry degree behind it. You're not washing dirt off. You're stripping your skin and then adding forever chemicals into your bloodstream. And here's the part that actually bothers me. A lot of the chemicals doing the quote cleaning isn't required to tell you what it is. The word fragrance on a label is legally allowed to hide dozens of unlisted chemicals, several with real evidence behind hormone-disrupting effects tied to fertility and thyroid function. You're not applying it once. It's in your shampoo, your lotion, your deodorant, your perfume. Sometimes 4 or 5 products before 8 a.m. every single day for years. It's debatable whether this information was hidden from us by the big corporate companies that sold us healthcare products that conversely do the opposite. The truth is now being translated out of research papers and into your bathroom. Tonight, I'm doing that translation. By number 9, we're leaving the shower altogether and heading up to your hair. Number 4 is sitting in almost every purse and diaper bag in America, and almost nobody questions it. And at the very end, I'll give you the 5-minute cabinet audit my grandmother used to run on every new customer, without them even realizing they were being tested. Here's the frame for tonight. This isn't a list of banned chemicals or a scare story. It's the opposite. It's what a bathroom looked like before the chemical industry filled every shelf of it. A handful of simple, traditional staples doing the job that 30 different bottles do for you now. That minimalism is exactly what Japan is known for, and tonight we're using it as the blueprint. 13 products, the chemistry behind why they're worth a second look, and the traditional alternative that actually predates all of them. 13. Body wash chemicals in play. SLS, lather, parabens, preservative, synthetic fragrance. Picture the bottle in your shower right now. Probably something with moisturizing or silk on the label. SLS is a genuine irritant for a lot of people. It strips the skin's natural oil barrier faster than it needs to just to get that foam. Parabens are a weaker story. Mild estrogen-mimicking activity shows up in lab studies, but the real-world impact at normal use levels is still an open question, not a settled one. Traditional alternative, azuki bean powder, dried, ground azuki beans mixed with a little water into a paste. It was a standard cleanser in Japan before synthetic soap existed, lathers gently on its own, and has nothing to list on a label. You can find this item and most I'm going to list on Amazon. Takeaway: if your body wash needs 6 ingredients to explain what it's made of, that's the tell. 12. Antibacterial hand soap chemicals in play. Triclosan, SLS. Triclosan was the active ingredient in most of these for decades, largely phased out of U.S. products by an FDA rule since 2016. Specifically over antibiotic resistance concerns and unclear added benefit over regular soap. That's the FDA's own reasoning, not a fringe claim. Traditional alternative, plain soap and proper technique. 30 seconds, full coverage, warm water. Regular soap physically lifts bacteria and viruses off skin through surfactant action alone. It doesn't need to kill anything chemically to work. Takeaway: the antibacterial claim on the bottle was solving a problem plain soap already solved. 11. Body lotion and moisturizer chemicals in play. Petrolatum/mineral oil. Parabens, petrolatum, and mineral oil seal moisture in. Parabens keep the water-based formula from growing anything in the bottle. Pharmaceutical-grade petrolatum is genuinely inert and safe. The real caveat is refining quality, since poorly refined mineral oil byproducts can carry contaminants that properly refined cosmetic-grade product doesn't. Traditional alternative, Tsubaki oil, camellia oil, used on skin and hair in Japan for centuries. Mostly oleic acid, needs no preservative because it's a single, stable, non-water-based oil. Another option is shea butter. Takeaway: one honest oil can often do the job of a 12-ingredient lotion. 10. Antiperspirant and deodorant chemicals in play. Aluminum compounds, parabens, synthetic fragrance. Aluminum plugs the sweat duct itself. That's the actual mechanism of an antiperspirant. It's stopping sweat production locally, not neutralizing odor. Now, I don't know about you, but hearing about anything that is, quote, plugging my sweat duct is not something I want on my body. The aluminum breast cancer link has been studied repeatedly by major health bodies and hasn't been confirmed. That fear is more internet folklore than established science, worth saying plainly. Although actual science does take a long time to show results, and it could be years before a conclusion is made on aluminum, so it's best to skip the aluminum deodorant. Aluminum is also a heavy metal, and heavy metals are a known toxicity on the body. Traditional alternative, a persimmon-forward deodorant, works through a different mechanism than aluminum entirely. The tannins bind directly to the bacteria and odor compounds on skin, rather than plugging the sweat duct to stop sweat production. It's the same astringent base used in traditional Japanese kakishibu soap for body odor, and unlike aluminum, it doesn't interfere with sweating itself. Sweat is still a normal, healthy process the body uses to regulate temperature. Takeaway: know which problem you're actually solving, sweating or odor, because they're not the same fix. 9. Chemical sunscreen. Chemicals in play: Oxybenzone and related UV filters. These absorb UV radiation chemically. Human hormone disruption evidence is genuinely mixed and unresolved. The better established concern is environmental. Oxybenzone is banned in places like Hawaii, specifically for coral reef damage. Traditional alternative: physical coverage first, the Higasa parasol, long sleeves, wide-brimmed hats with mineral sunscreen, zinc oxide, as the modern equivalent, since it sits on top of skin and reflects UV rather than absorbing it. Another emerging trend is homemade sunscreen with just zinc oxide, beef tallow, and coconut oil, but that will be for another video. Takeaway: shade. Shade and fabric are still optimal sunscreens ever invented, and neither has ever needed an ingredient label. Just remember, our bodies are made to absorb the sun, and if you are burning easily, it could be a deeper issue to explore. Go ahead and glance at your own shower rack right now. I'll wait. Check the counter next to your sink. How many of these 13 are already sitting there? From here, we're leaving the shower behind entirely and moving up to your hair, because the next 4 items aren't touching your skin, they're touching your scalp, and that changes the chemistry completely. 8. Shampoo and conditioner chemicals in play. SLS. Parabens. Synthetic fragrance. Same core trio as body wash, but now sitting on your scalp, which has one of the highest concentrations of oil glands on your entire body. Traditional alternative: Kome no togajiru, the cloudy water left over from rinsing rice before cooking it, used as a final hair rinse for its mild starches and amino acids. Not a miracle product, just genuinely rice water, and free of all 3 ingredients above. Takeaway: the fanciest bottle in your shower is often doing the same 3 jobs as the water you already pour down the drain. Someone watching this is thinking, if it's sold on a shelf, it's already been tested and approved. So what's actually the problem? Fair point, and it's true. These ingredients are used at concentrations regulators consider, quote, safe individually. The actual issue is cumulative, not individual. A typical morning routine layers 5 or 6 of these products: shampoo, body wash, lotion, deodorant, sunscreen, makeup. Each one under the safe threshold on its own, but nobody's really studied what stacking 6 of them every day for 20 years adds up to. That's not a banned chemical story. It's an honest gap in the research. 7. Dandruff and scalp treatment shampoo, chemicals in play. Coal tar slows skin cell turnover on the scalp. Classified as a possible carcinogen with prolonged high-level exposure, a genuine reason it's used at controlled low doses under medical guidance rather than daily and indefinitely. Traditional alternative, dedicated scalp massage with the fingertips, not the hair, using plain water and gentle friction to physically lift the oil and dead skin that causes flaking in the first place. There is also a somatic tool called scalp glides in which gently pull your hair to increase head circulation. Takeaway: sometimes the fix isn't a stronger product. It's actually touching the part of your body that's the problem. 6. Hair gel, mousse, and hairspray/dry shampoo chemicals in play. Formaldehyde-releasing preservatives, for example, DMDM-hydantoin, phthalates. These slowly release small amounts of formaldehyde over time, a genuine allergen and irritant concern for sensitive skin and scalps, plus phthalates that keep hold flexible instead of brittle. For context, formaldehyde is also what we pump dead bodies full of to slow down decay. Traditional alternative: funori, a seaweed-based paste, and bintsuke wax for hold. Both still used today in traditional Japanese hairdressing for geisha and sumo top knots. No formaldehyde, no phthalates. Takeaway: hold and shine don't require a chemical you'd otherwise associate with a lab. 5. Baby powder and body powder. Chemicals in play. Talc. The real controversy isn't talc itself. It's contamination risk from asbestos in certain talc mining sources, a purity and sourcing issue, not an inherent property of the mineral. Traditional alternative, cornstarch-based powder does the same moisture-absorbing job with no mining contamination question attached to it at all. Takeaway: sometimes the safer swap isn't exotic. It's just the ingredient one aisle over. Notice how many of these are things you apply and never think about again until the bottle's empty. And now the finishing touches. The 4 things that go on last, closest to your face, right before you walk out the door. 4. Lip balm and lip gloss, chemicals in play. Petrolatum, synthetic fragrance. The one in every purse, glove box, and diaper bag in America. Mostly petrolatum for the seal. Synthetic fragrance for flavor. The petrolatum concern again comes down to refining grade, not the ingredient itself. Traditional alternative: beeswax melted with camellia oil, done at home. Does the identical sealing job with 2 ingredients you could read off a candle and a salad dressing bottle. Takeaway: the product that touches your mouth more than anything else you own deserves the shortest ingredient list of anything you own. 3. Nail polish and polish remover chemicals in play. Phthalates, and in some tested products, PFAS phthalates show up here as a plasticizer, keeping polish flexible instead of chipping immediately. Phthalates have better established endocrine-disrupting evidence than parabens, genuinely one of the stronger concerns on this list, not an overstated one. There's also a newer finding worth knowing. Independent testing out of the University of Notre Dame in 2021 found detectable PFAS, the forever chemicals that don't break down in the body or the environment, in a portion of nail products tested, almost never disclosed by name on the label. Traditional alternative: water-based, breathable polish formulas made without the phthalate plasticizer. Traditional Japanese nail care leaned more on buffing and simple oil conditioning than on polish at all. Takeaway: this is the one item on the list where read the label is actually worth doing. 2. Perfume and cologne chemicals in play. Phthalates, synthetic fragrance blends. The word fragrance or parfum on an ingredient list is a legal loophole. It can hide dozens of unlisted chemicals, phthalates included, used as a fixative to make scent last longer on skin. That opacity is arguably the bigger issue here. Traditional alternative, kodo, the traditional practice of incense appreciation, and a cultural preference for single-note natural scent, yuzu especially, over complex synthetic blends. Takeaway: a scent you can name in one word is a scent with nothing to hide. 1. Makeup, foundation, concealer, mascara chemicals in play, parabens, phthalates, synthetic fragrance, and PFAS in waterproof/longwear formulas. Everything from tonight, layered into one product. Parabens for preservation, phthalates for texture and flexibility, synthetic fragrance for scent. If it's a waterproof or longwear formula specifically, add PFAS to that list. The same 2021 Notre Dame study found detectable PFAS in a majority of the waterproof mascaras and long-lasting lipsticks and foundations tested, essentially never disclosed on the label because PFAS isn't required to be listed by name. This is also the one product most people put on every single day without ever checking a label because it's makeup, not medicine, so it never occurs to us to ask. Traditional alternative, mineral-based makeup, the modern descendant of Japan's traditional rice powder base, uses iron oxides and zinc oxide for coverage instead of most of that list. Takeaway: the product on your face the most days of the year is the one most worth a second look, and I'm sure you look so much more beautiful without makeup anyways. Here's the real thing worth understanding, and it's not a scary one. We don't know if each item on this list is going to hurt you per se. That was never the honest claim. What actually changes when you swap 2 or 3 of these out isn't some dramatic health transformation. It's that your daily synthetic load, the thing nobody's actually studied at the 6 products stacked for 20 years level, quietly goes down. By removing even a couple gives your system more time to cleanse and recover. That's not a miracle. It's just arithmetic. And it's the same arithmetic my grandmother was running behind that counter for 40 years without ever once calling it that. Pull everything off one shelf. For each product, ask 3 questions. 1. Could I name what's in this out loud? 2. Is it doing one job, or is it a 3-in-1 doing 3 jobs badly? 3. Is there a version of this that existed before the chemical industry did? You don't need to replace all 13 tonight. Replace the one you touch first every morning and let that be the whole start. One honest note before you go swap anything out. Traditional and natural doesn't automatically mean risk-free. Camellia oil, essential oils and perfume alternatives, and even alum stone can cause a genuine allergic reaction or skin irritation in some people, the same as any synthetic ingredient can. Patch test anything new on a small area first, and if you have a diagnosed skin condition or you're already under a dermatologist's care, run any of this by them before you change your routine. My grandmother never once used the word chemical behind that counter. She just knew which shelf actually did the job and which shelf was 30 different bottles pretending to be 30 different problems. That's the part of this that almost didn't make it to you. Not because anyone hid it, but because nobody ever wrote it down for people outside that shop. Tonight, it's yours. Tell me in the comments, which one of these 13 are you swapping out first tonight? Subscribe, not for me, but because there's so much more I want to share with you. One shelf at a time, and I don't want you to miss the next one. Next time, the one ingredient sitting in almost every Japanese kitchen that quietly replaces 4 things in your cleaning cabinet, and it costs about $2. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and until next time, walk strongly and tell someone you love them.